early, though. I have a problem in life where I'm often very early, but that said, the early bird gets the worm. Today, we're going to be going through some quizzes that Matt Affleck made for PokerCoaching.com. If you're a member of PokerCoaching.com, perhaps you've been through these. We have a ton of quizzes on the site, 1,584 of them. At the moment, you can search these by coach, you can search these by hand, you can search by tournament or cash games, stack depth, position, opponent's position, etc., etc., etc. And today, we are going to go through some quizzes by Matt Affleck, who is one of my favorite coaches on PokerCoaching.com, but I purposely did not take these quizzes at all. I've not even looked over them. Hopefully they're good. They may be good, they may not be good, because I wanted to test myself today to see if I can be as good as Matt Affleck. I will say, full disclosure, Matt Affleck quite possibly is better at poker than me. So I'm going to presume that whatever he does is right. It's important to realize that while you should always remain skeptical about poker players' skill levels, eventually if you play enough with a lot of people and you listen to them talk and you listen to them present their reasoning, it will become clear that some people are super sharp. And Matt Affleck is about as sharp as they come. While all of you trickle in, hope you're having a fantastic morning. I took 5th place in a poker tournament yesterday that had about 4,000 people. Almost good, almost good. I think they gave me like 20K or something, which is pretty good, you know, not too bad. Can't complain. Lost a bunch of other tournaments. You know how it goes, you know how it goes. It says we may be dropping frames. Are we dropping frames today? Let's see. I'm going to type in what a vehicle is before it confirms if my email is good. All right. Punt, indeed. Are we here? If we're here, let me know. I think we're here. It's always something. It's always something. Just got the app. Hopefully you mean the Poker Coaching app. Enjoy it. Good job, good luck. Kevin Smith finished 20th place out of 1,400 people. Good job, good work. Is anyone here? Should we restart the stream? That would be so bad. That would be so bad to restart the stream. Oh, I always hate when I screw up early in the morning. Somebody type something in the chat box. That would be beneficial for me. Let's see. Get that restream chat back up. Good morning. Okay, we got somebody typing something. Thank you, Fred. Thank you. I think we're good now. From the desert. Nice haircut. Yeah, I got a haircut. It's been a long time since I got a haircut. Good, we're back. Sorry for everyone. Figure out how to clip out the first 5 minutes of the show. Internet was not working. Such is life. Stream is good. Good. Today, we are going to be taking a look at some quizzes from Poker Coaching coach Matt Affleck. You just got excelling at tough no limit hold'em games. Any recommendations on how to use it efficiently? Start at the beginning and work your way to the end. That's how you do most books. That said, maybe some things are just not applicable to you at all. Like, for example, there's a chapter on being a good backee. Maybe you don't care about ever being a backee, right? If that's the case, that chapter's not for you, so just skip it. That said, I tried to ensure that it was like, I'm not going to say easy reading, but like a readable book and not a super, like, some books are very, very dense to the point that they are unreadable, whereas other books are very readable. And I wanted to make sure it was more like a conversation. Came back from Vegas with an extra 2,500 in tournament wins. Nice job. Good work. All right, loud and clear on YouTube. Shout out to Coral, who took down the $21 bounty tournament, defeating 1,700 players. Good job, good work. We had a good weekend, I guess, for some of us. I took, I think, 5th place out of about 4,000 people in I think it was a $200 tournament. So, you know, got a little change for that. Fun stuff, fun stuff. All right, let's get to it. Let's take some Matt Affleck quizzes and see if we can play as well as Matt Affleck. Let me know if this is too loud or too quiet.
All right, in this hand, it's going to fold to us in the cutoff. We have King 8 of diamonds. We're going to min raise. player in the big blind calls. We're going to note here the player in the big blind starts this hand with 10 big blinds. So it will be pretty important in this hand. Flop comes ace queen 10, and it's on us. Should we check, bet 3,500, bet 7,000, or bet 10,500, or go all in?
Ugh, annoying spot. I already don't know the answer. I presume we should probably just put in a minimum bet. What do you all think? Look at Matt Affleck. He gives us all these options. I think it's either 3,500 or 7,000. I don't see any purpose in going bigger. I think we just want to bet small. If he jams, obviously we can fold. I do expect to get jammed on a lot. Well, mostly jammed on if we do bet. Checking is, I think, reasonable. I think checking is definitely reasonable. The problem is that, I mean, I guess there's not really a problem. I don't know. I would go for a small bet here, I think, but it's... Louis Philippe said right off the bat, Matt Affleck quizzes are tough.
I think all bet sizing options are viable here as long as you don't check. And the reason we don't want to ever check here is because this player had 10 big blinds. If they had an ace, they're probably going to shove pre-flop. If they had king jack, they might even shove. With king jack, they're actually probably for sure shoving pre-flop. They don't have pocket queens. They don't have pocket tens. You know, really the best player this player can have is a hand like maybe queen jack or queen nine. We just have a huge range advantage here. We want to bet everything. I prefer the small sizing, betting 3,500, which is one big blind. I like betting one big blind here. We put a lot of pressure already on their range. I think betting two big blinds like 7,000 is fine. Betting 10.5 is fine. Although I think with this hand class, I prefer the one big blind bet. There's even some hands I might go all in here. Potentially with like maybe a hand like ace 5 that needs some protection versus and wants to get some folds potentially from like some gut shots or so yeah, think betting all sizes are viable here. I do bet a little bit larger. I bet like 5,800, kind of in the middle of the two sizes. Our opponent calls. 8 of hearts on the turn. Should we check, bet 11,000, or go all in?
I completely agree with all of his logic on the flop. We have a range / nut advantage. The opponent has almost no aces. Well, maybe not almost no aces, but they definitely are lacking the aces, and we have a lot of them. So I think we just have to put in the small bet on the flop. You don't want to bet bigger because if you bet bigger and get jammed, you just lose more money, right? And your opponent will jam sometimes. Okay, we turn the 8. This is where you have to ask, like, will the opponent ever fold a queen or a 10? Will they ever fold a queen or a 10? I wouldn't in their shoes. I would not fold a queen or a 10 in their shoes. So if I'm not folding a queen or a 10, I think betting's probably pretty bad, right? That said, will they ever fold a queen or a 10? I don't know. I think I would just check it back here. It's an annoying spot, like where I think we're just going to lose a lot. But at the same time, what do our bluffs look like? I think our bluffs probably need to be what? Flush draws, straight draws, right? We definitely have plenty of those. Sentif says if they are a nit, easy all in. And as Louis Philippe here says, who studies a lot of GTO outputs, if he calls, the equities shift a lot. Yeah, because we bet everything on the flop, and he's only going to call with decent stuff, right? So I like checking it back.
When our opponent calls, their most likely hands are going to be like maybe a suited king, like king 9 suited. They could have like a suited jack, potentially a queen or a 10. They don't really have an ace very often here. Our pair of 8s has a little bit of showdown, but not much. And I really like going all in here. And the reason I like going all in here is because I want to put pressure on a hand like 10-9, 10-5, queen 3, queen 5. Those hands are going to be in a really tough spot here when we shove. If they do call, we have outs to improve. We can get a hand like, we can hit a jack, we can hit a king, we can hit 8. So it's kind of a semi-bluff, even though we have a pair. But our pair really isn't that good here that often. So I really like shoving here. Checking back is fine as well. If we had a hand like Jack 8 or 8-6, something with a little bit weaker hand, potentially maybe we'd shove more often here. I'm fine with both options here. I go ahead and shove and get a fold here.
Peter says, go all in and then wink at the opponent. Yeah, I like that idea. First time live. Good morning, John. Hope you're having a great day. How many worse hands we really have in this spot? That's the question, right? Well, we definitely have all the King X of Hearts, right? Maybe we have stuff like Jack 7 suited. Maybe. We definitely have stuff like... Well, notice any Jack is a gut shot, right? Or double gut shot, right? So do we have many bad... The problem is a lot of the bad Jacks have pairs already, right? So we don't necessarily need to jam those. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I do agree that we don't have like a ton of worse hands that don't mind shoving. Because we're not raising like Jack 5 suited or whatever. You say Queen Jack, but Queen Jack is a better hand, right? So the problem is here is we need to find some bluffs. We need to find some bluffs. So, what do our bluffs want to look like? I think flush draws are obvious, but that's probably not enough. So we need to find additional bluffs. Any Jack is obviously good, but we don't have a whole lot of Jacks we're raising pre-flop that don't also have a pair, right? So, should we be jamming stuff like King 3 of Spades? Probably. And if we're jamming King 3, King 4, King 8 of Spades, King 7 of Spades, etc., then I definitely think we have plenty of bluffs. Now, if we're not going to jam those and just check back and give up, then I think it's fine. You prefer to not have the flush draw? I think you definitely want to have the flush draw in this spot because you have just a lot of equity. You usually want to be jamming with your best draws and your best main hands in most spots when you're shallow-ish. Is Queen 3 suited calling a pre-flop raise? Yes. The opponent had 10 big blinds pre-flop. He should be calling all sorts of suited stuff. If we go over to pokercoaching.com, look at the tools. Let's just take a look. Tournament charts, GTO. Solver's betting 90% of range on the turn using a small size. Cool. This is not going to be exact, but because obviously this presumes that we have 10 big blinds and so does the opponent. But against a minimum raise from the initial raiser having 10 big blinds, you see Queen 3 suited calls. And notice this range is pretty tight because it presumes the min raising range is super, super strong. Obviously it's not though. So we're looking more at like probably 15 big blind ranges, and you see every suited hand calls a min raise in this spot. So Queen 3 suited is definitely calling in this spot pre-flop. So look, Matt's assumption was that a hand like 10-9 or Queen 3 would fold. I don't think King 10-9 or Queen 3 are folding. If they are, then obviously jam. If they're not, then obviously check it back, which is why he gave both of these options reasonable spots. Louis Philippe says GTO likes betting tiny. So I will say, GTO gets a little bit funny in spots like this because it's going to presume different things about the opponent's range than are likely happening in the real world, right? So I don't know. I'm not necessarily going to say that you want to just like blindly follow the solver in these scenarios. Just be careful with that. All right, let's take a look at next hand. Fun spot.
All right, in this hand we have ace jack of hearts. We're going to raise it up in the cutoff. Nothing surprising there. The button's going to call, and the small blind goes all in for 40 big blinds, and it's back on us. Should we fold or should we call?
10-7 suited and lower are folding in the second barrel simulation. Cool, sure. Seems nitty to me. Oh, yeah, I mean, I get that you should probably be folding your bad tens. Oh gosh, what do we do here? This is a spot that you do see some players shove, especially online. As you see your opponent shoving in these spots more and more often, I do think you need to start finding calls in these scenarios. But until you know otherwise, I think you should just fold here. It's an annoying spot. Maybe Matt has some good GTO spots for us. The problem is like, what does a 40 big blind shoving range look like in this spot? And usually it's just going to end up being like a really, really good range. Like middle pairs. Good aces, like ace queen, stuff like that. So I think we're either going to be like roughly flipping, roughly dominated. Why wouldn't he squeeze? You don't want to squeeze a hand like, let's say, pocket sevens and then get jammed on, right? Because then you're in a pretty bad spot. So you'd much rather just rip it in with the pocket sevens. So all of you saying, wow, I can't believe he's shoving 40 big blinds, so many chips. This is just like good poker, by the way. I mean, I don't know, let me show you the GTO charts for heads up spots, even. Let's look at 40 big blinds. Let me pull this over here so you can maybe see a little bit better. 40 big blinds, small blind. You often do shove from the small blind, by the way. Small blind versus a raise from the hijack versus a minimum raise. Okay, small blind versus a minimum raise from the hijack. You're going all in with ace king, ace queen, tens, and nines. King jack suited and king 10 suited. Whenever you are against multiple players, what happens is these hands start to get pushed up just a little bit. So you may see like king queen suited, king jack suited, jacks, tens. Maybe sevens would be too loose. This was against hijack raise. What about against a cutoff raise? You'll see you just shove a little bit more even, right? And you see the shoving hands get pushed down a little bit, which is why I was thinking kind of like the sevens vicinity. And the fact that there was more dead money in the pot, I thought maybe would make us shove a little bit wider. So we're probably shoving something like this, but a little bit stronger. It's like slightly stronger than this. You may say Jack 10 suited. Unbelievable. Funny enough, in a hand at the Poker Go studio on the bubble of I think it was a $15,000 tournament, I raised kings from early position. Someone called. Good player shoved, what was it, Queen Jack suited or Jack 10 suited for like 40 big blinds. I obviously called and he made a flush and I bubbled. So that was fun. Are we assuming a villain is competent? So one thing, SLIQQ, slick one. It seems from your comments that you are trying to really create a narrative about what the opponents are doing and then trying to figure out what to do from there. But when you're playing online poker or against players you do not know, and obviously I have no reads on this hypothetical player that's clearly playing in an online tournament, you just have to play good, fundamentally sound poker. Period. This idea of he knows this and I know that, therefore I should do this, all of that just goes out the window. The question becomes, what does the guy's range look like? And until you know otherwise, you should assume he's going to be pretty competent, or you should presume that he's going to make the standard errors people make in most games. And most people don't make the error of ripping it in for 40 big blinds with nonsense. Like, nobody does that. So whenever you see someone do this, you have to presume your opponents play reasonably. And Kevin, I wouldn't even say the question is, what am I beating? The question is, how much equity do I have against the opponent's shoving range? So let's get out Equilab. We get out Equilab, and you will see in this spot, ace jack suited is probably like okay. I mean, let's just give them this range here. Ace king offsuit, ace queen offsuit. That's probably better for me just to select the hands, huh? Let's give them, push these hands up just a little bit, like I've recommended. Let's give them 10s and 9s and 8s. Sure, right? Something like this. So against this range, how much equity does ace jack suited have? And you see it has 46%, which is not quite good enough, right? Plus we have somebody yet to act who could be trapping us. This is like roughly break even, right? And you don't want to be calling off in roughly break-even spots. And I think this is probably about what we're looking at. And so, if you think you have an edge in the tournament, you definitely don't want to be calling off in roughly break-even spots. Whoops, that's the wrong thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Notice, though, if we just take out like ace-king from the opponent's range, you see that our equity starts to go up, and we should probably start finding a call. If people, quote-unquote, screw this up, I think they're going to shove more stuff like this. And notice, if they shove more like this, this is actually not good for us, right? So now our equity is going to be more like 43%. So I think against the GTO strategy, it's probably just like a break-even spot. And against the errors people likely make in most games, it becomes a pretty easy fold. So let's see what Matt says.
So the important part of this question is ask yourself, take a second, pause the video if you need to. What types of hands do you think the small blind is shoving? Pause the video, take a second to ask.
We just did that.
Now, the important part here is that the small blind is extremely unlikely to have premium hands like aces, kings, and queens. Those hands are likely to just 3-bet to a non-all-in size. The range that shoves here is strong, but is extremely capped. And I'm going to pull in a picture here that shows the GTO solution of what hands they should shove.
All right, so Matt has three-handed, 40 big blind GTO chart. Now, does the opponent actually do this? Maybe, maybe not. But take a look at what I guessed it was, and we'll see what did I guess it was? What happened to my chart? Did I lose my chart? I guessed it was ace, king, ace, queen, jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s, and these hands. So I think I actually took these two hands out. So I didn't have queen 10 suited and jack 10 suited. Besides that, we nailed it, right? Good.
Now, the hands in the red are hands that it's saying they should go all in with here. King, queen suited, king, jack, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, queen, jack, tens, nines,
Do
eights,
people
and then
do
ace,
that?
king, ace, queen, ace, jack. Suited hands like ace, king through ace 10, it's saying the orange is it would re-raise to a non-all in side, so like 2,000 chips. Queens, kings, and aces. And
By the way, that's an important point here. You're re-raising like ace 10, ace 9, and ace 8 as a bluff in the spot non all in. King, queen, and king jack non all in as a bluff. You're re-raising everything else in this range for value. Besides queen 9 suited and like ace 7 suited every once in a while. And then you call it off with those hands. I don't especially love that with 8s and 7s. But again, GTO is a little bit funny. Hello from Cuba. Welcome. Good morning. And from LA. LA is in Louisiana or Los Angeles. They're different.
if they're shoving this range in the red, ace jack suited is a call.
Let's go back to this. Let's take a look at this. If they are shoving the GTO range, remember my GTO range was like a little bit tighter. Let's just see how much equity we have against this range here. Now, obviously, it's not going to be exact because we're not going to weight these. Not going to spend our time doing that. Let's give them 7s and not give them 5s. Against this range, ace jack suited is going to be much closer, right? 47%, which is, the other range was 46%. What are our pot odds? Not great. I don't know exactly what they are, but they're roughly 50-50. So, it's close. It's close.
Ace jack suited is performing very well against this range. It's dominated right here, but it's either flipping or it dominates some of these hands very well. And so you see here we're even calling hands like ace 10 suited, ace jack offsuit against these shoves.
Pause. I don't know if Matt's going to say this, but we call these hands against the shove, assuming there are no real payout implications, in which case we should call a little bit tighter, and we don't think we have an edge in the game, in which case we should call a little bit tighter. And typically, if you are a good poker player and you're playing a small or medium stakes game, you probably have a bit of an edge. And there's usually some payout implications. I realize we only have 8,000 chips in this hand, which is not a lot. But, if you're in even the middle levels of the tournament, you should probably shy away from making break-even calls. And spots like ace 10 suited and ace jack offsuit and pocket 7s here are going to be really break-even. And then, maybe ace jack suited is a little bit profitable. And if it's a little bit profitable, it's probably okay. But, that becomes the bottom of the calling range. Not like ace 10 suited and 7s.
Now, I think this is, optimistic. If we take out these suited 10s, I think ace jack suited is breaking even or still making a little bit of money. It's really, really close here. And you have to make an assumption about your opponent. And I just don't want you to snap fold here because it's 40 big blinds. Think about the type of range they're shoving with.
That's a good point. A lot of you said, obviously fold, but you should always consider what is the opponent's range.
And think about the situation if you have reads on your opponents. I think calling here is very, very reasonable. Folding is, of course, against tight players is going to be standard. But against aggressive players here, this hand is just a call against aggressive players. And there's not really much else to kind of say about that. And I think a lot of people just kind of fold here. And
aggressive players, by the way, will add in more just low suited ace X type hands and king 8 suited and king 9 suited. And once you start adding in all these hands that you dominate, it becomes an easy call. Some people jam ace 9 offsuit, in which case obviously it's an easy call. As your opponent's range gets more and more wide, especially when it contains hands that you are dominating, then it becomes an easier call. Because if you look at a reasonable range to shove, some of these hands dominate us, right? Which is not good. Whereas if you start adding in any additional hands to this range, they're usually the hands that we dominate. So as they get looser and looser, the call becomes mandatory, like Matt says. He's not going to jam ace 5 suited. You don't know that. You definitely don't know that. I mean, the GTO strategy Matt just showed us, I think, included some ace X suited. The chart right here includes ace 4 suited sometimes. So, if the guy wants to just use every single shove, he's going to be shoving too often, but look at the hands he's going to shove every time instead. King jack suited, we dominate. Queen jack suited. Ace jack offsuit's irrelevant. 9s, 8s doesn't matter. 4s doesn't matter. Ace 4 suited, we dominate. So, as they jam wider, which is when people do start to widen their jamming range, they just start taking these low frequency bluffs and just doing it every time. These are spots where you can start calling it off.
And learn this too from the small blinds views. If you're not going all in with these hands, I think you should be.
I agree. People overfold.
It's going to be very profitable, especially because people are going to just fold ace jack off, ace 10 suited, king queen suited, pocket 7s. People are going to fold a lot, and you're just going to win a lot of chips out of position instead of playing pots out of position 3 ways. I did fold here. The button called. I remember in game thinking I would have called with like ace queen and eights would have probably been my calling range. So I was
Yep.
a little bit tighter, but being on the safe side, that's probably a fine assumption to just be, give myself a little cushion and tighten up 1 pip. I remember in game thinking, yeah, I'd call with ace queen offsuit. I think here. The button called. The small blind show queen 10 suited, which is actually
Nice.
a pretty good shove by them.
Nice.
If you look at the charts here, queen 10 suited is, just a shove. It's not even like any other option really. And the button called with ace queen, pretty standard spot on this part. And this is, it looks weird, but it's kind of a cooler. They both played the hand I might have actually played the hand worse out of these three people. So it would have been interesting if I called. I think ace queen suited gets to fold. So
Let's take a look at what Chris says. Why is no one mentioning that the button could be trapping? Button versus raise from cutoff. Aces 3-bets 100%. Kings 3-bets 100%. Queens 3-bets almost every time. Ace queen suited, which called, 3-bets almost every time. So why would you not presume they're trapping with aces? Because it's kind of bad. Now, if you know the players in the blinds are aggressive, sure. But we don't know the players in the blinds are aggressive, right? We don't know the players in the blinds are aggressive. We presume the players in the blinds are reasonable, right? So, yeah, they could be trapping, but if they are trapping, it means they're screwing up elsewhere. And to be fair, the guy called ace queen suited. He screwed up elsewhere, to be fair. So, I mean, they are screwing up some. And the fact that the guy did have ace queen suited maybe is the trappy type of player. And if your opponent is known to be trappy or tricky in general, then sure. But you got to realize that people who are often tricky very often leave a ton of value on the table. Okay? On Twitch, if you want to subscribe, is it different than poker coaching? Yes, Twitch is not associated with poker coaching. Do not feel inclined to subscribe to Twitch unless you just feel like it. If you're 20 big blinds deep, this would be very different. Yeah, for sure. That said, 20 big blinds deep, you're obviously going to still call it off. Here's the buttons calling range versus a cutoff 20 big blinds deep, so they should be trapping then because then the risk of getting outdrawn is way less because you can only lose 20 big blinds. That said, if we look at big blind strategy here, now they're going to be jamming a ton versus a cutoff raise, right? Which makes our call super easy. So if we were 20 big blinds deep, we would call it off there. And yeah, we're going to run into aces and kings then, but it just doesn't matter. Can you give us a bit more time to consider your options? Sure. You mentioned the buy-in of this Ben Affleck tournament. This is Matt Affleck. And I don't know what the buy-in is. I think it's $200, $100, something like that. Before we move forward, I got to tell you all about my new project. Some of you will love it. Some of you will hate it. It is the Deck of Degeneracy. I know we have some massive degenerates here. And if you all know me, I've been a collector of things for a long time. Right back there on the floor, all in these boxes, are Magic the Gathering cards. I've played Magic the Gathering cards for a very long time, and I have a giant collection of them. And I also have a giant collection of NFTs. You can see them at oncyber.io/Jonathan Little, if you feel like taking a look. And I decided to make a collection of NFTs. Some people hate NFTs because they do not understand them. The way I view NFTs are kind of like a sport event ticket or a movie ticket. You buy a thing, and that gives you access to other things. Do I have a Black Lotus? Yes. I have an Instagram, instagram.com/dailymagicmuse, where I post fun magic hands. Monkey Mai says, oh my god, I love them. These are a derivative of Bored Apes. Some people think that I'm stealing their IP. I am not. We have the rights to use all of the images in this. The people who own these Bored Apes gave us the rights. Anyway, we're going to start minting these this week, most likely. Check it out at deckofdegeneracy.com. What do you get? Well, first things first. It's 50 decks of 54 playing cards. There are jokers included, so 2,700 total NFTs. If you buy these, we will mail you a physical deck of cards that look like these. We do not have them printed yet, but they will be printed soon to the United States or Canada. You may be able to convince us to mail them somewhere else. But, that is not all. That is not all. Because when you buy the NFTs, you're not just buying a sweet piece of art. You're getting a membership to a club that gives you potential other benefits throughout the next year. For example, if you have a royal flush, if you somehow make a royal flush, you can use a joker. So you need 5 NFTs making a royal flush. We're going to have a party in Vegas. I actually threw a party in Vegas for people who had my previous NFT series. which were photos of downtown Las Vegas, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. And this year it's going to be bigger and better. So that's going to be fun. Pieces of Jonathan's poker tournament action. I'm just going to give you all a hypothetical. I got a deck of cards here. This is not the deck of cards we're going to have. I got a deck of cards, okay? Imagine I'm going to go play a poker tournament. I'm going to take the cards. I'm going to shuffle the cards. Okay? We're going to shuffle the cards. Let's just consider this. Let's say there's 50 NFTs that are the nine of spades, and there's 50 queen of spades and 50 jack of diamonds. What if you have a few of those? What if I take the deck of cards? I'm about to pull a card randomly. I don't know what I'm going to pull. This one. 8 of hearts. There's a $50,000 buy-in tournament coming up. Maybe we give away 1% to everybody who has the 8 of hearts. If I win, maybe we can just drop them Ethereum. If I lose, well, y'all get nothing and I lose money too. That could be fun. Bonus NFT art. This art is by Wes Henry, world-class artist. He works with a lot of people in the NFT space. What if he makes a new NFT? Normally his NFTs sell for $1,000, give or take. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. What if we decide to just airdrop a piece to everybody who has the 8 of clubs? Wow, 8s are running hot. 8 of clubs. They just get it airdropped to them. What if I go play a poker tournament and I win with the 5 of hearts, 2 of diamonds? What if I win the poker tournament this year with the 5 of hearts, 2 of diamonds? Maybe those cards become relevant. Anyway, this could be a lot of fun. 8 of diamonds next. Let's see if we get the 8 of diamonds next. Close. 5 of diamonds. Anyway, we're gonna have a fun time over the next year, at least. If secondary sales do well, then maybe we'll continue doing it longer. But I plan on playing some big poker tournaments this year. We have the Super High Roller Bowl. It'd be pretty cool to win a large chunk of that, right? We have a few $100,000 tournaments, a few $50,000 tournaments. All that's coming up. And, I cannot guarantee anything. But if you have followed me at all, you know I drastically over-deliver. A lot of you have asked, how can I get a piece of your tournament action? This may be it. Here's some special cards. 49 out of the 50 cards are standard. But 1 out of 50 decks will be golden and provide double the rewards. So if let's say you somehow find yourself with 1% of my $50,000 buy-in, that's worth $500. If you have the gold card that happens to be whatever, say I pull the king of spades, you have 2%. Something else neat that may happen, may not happen, is let's say I'm going to play the $50,000 tournament on Monday. Maybe we'll actually draw that card on Friday. And now you have 3 days. And maybe you want to sell that NFT to somebody else. Well, if you know you have $500 or $1,000 in action, it makes the NFT worth at least $500 or $1,000, right? Plus whatever future stuff you have coming to you. So if you buy this thing for 0.1 ETH, you may be able to turn around and sell it for 0.4 ETH whenever you run a little bit hot, assuming you don't want my action. Or maybe you do want my action. Maybe the Super High Roller Bowl is coming up and you decide you want to get a piece of JL's action. You may be able to find some of these for a value. If you pay attention, maybe somebody has these listed at the floor for 0.1 ETH and their NFT all of a sudden becomes worth $1,500 or $3,000 and you just get $1,500 worth of action for 0.1 ETH. Think of the value. Anyway, that's that. Also, jokers. Jokers are good. You can use jokers to complete 4 or 5 card hands. I don't think we're going to let you use them for 3 card hands. We may change this. They cannot be used to make a 1 or a 2 card hand. So if I pull like the 5 of diamonds, you can't say, I got a joker, I win. No, it doesn't work like that. Jokers are included in the deck though. So, you're live for the 1 of 54. Cards will be minted randomly. You never know what you're going to get. After we're done minting though, you can buy them on the secondary market, but I would recommend you just get in there and buy a pile of them. That's what I would do. By the way, I will own none of these. Why? Because I'm going to be the one, well, am I allowed to say what I'm going to do? If somebody is going to be drawing cards, it's going to be me, okay? I bought a nice little, I bought this thing. I bought this device to sit on my desk to film straight down so we can have a nice layout. We're not going to be doing it like this, We'll have a nice layout. The camera sits here, films downwards. We're getting ready. We're getting ready for the Deck of Degeneracy. Here's our team. Here's Wes Henry. Here's me. Our engineers, Jeff and Will. Funny enough, their dad is a poker coaching member. So that's pretty cool. Check it out, deckofdegeneracy.com. It's a passion project of mine. If you want to support me and my passions and my fun times, then there you go. Hawking this NFT crap, not a good look for you. It's a membership club. You may not believe it, but people actually, some people like me. For example, we go to the World Series of Poker. Last year, I threw a party at Topgolf for people who work with me. We had like 60 people there. It's a lot of fun. We also had breakfasts at the World Series of Poker. I invited any poker coaching members who wanted to show up. They got capped immediately. 40 people per breakfast. They just wanted to come and hang out, meet friends. So the question is that kind of community building bad? And I don't think so. And would you rather have a cool piece of art to go along with your breakfast ticket entry? Maybe we have breakfast tickets. Or would you rather have nothing? Would you rather have something or nothing? Personally, I'd rather have something, especially if that something could be used in the future for something else, or if I could turn around and resell that thing. Think about like a Super Bowl ticket. Think about a Super Bowl ticket. Even after you go to that Super Bowl, that ticket can be resold on eBay for some amount of money. Super Bowl ticket costs, let's say, $1,000. I don't know how much it costs. Say Super Bowl ticket costs $1,000. You go to the game. The game's a good one. You can resell that ticket on eBay for $100. You get 10% rake back. Why is that bad? Explain to me why that is bad. No more Hash House a Go-Go, LOL. Yeah, I don't know where we're going to have our breakfast this year. We got to figure that one out. Yeah, 0.1 ETH is $200 or $300, give or take. That is correct. And, if we do something every week, that's 52 weeks of fun. People always ask, how can we play a home game with Jonathan Little? Maybe that'll be included too. Seems like an easy thing. I do home games with some of my employees every month, and we give away $1,000. Have like a 9-person sit and go. If there's 50 cards, we could do 5 10-person sit and goes. Give away $1,000 each time, something like that. I don't know. Seems like a fun thing to do. I like having fun with my fans and my community, and I realize a lot of people hate community. They just want to sit at home by themselves, and I like the idea of inducing a little bit of variance, a little bit of fun, inducing a little bit of swings, letting you get a piece of the action. Another good example of this. We had on Twitter the last few days, check out Degeneracy NFT. That is Deck of Degeneracy Twitter. And I let you vote on which sporting event team you think would win. Stop, Thomas. I went to a Rangers game the other day. Rangers against the Blues. You all voted for the Rangers. So I think for that one we gave away $500 just randomly to somebody who got in the giveaway. Do you like free giveaways? I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. So anyway, I don't know. Check it out. Why aren't you doing all 52 cards of a deck? There are 54 cards in a deck, plus rule cards. We're not doing the rule cards. Poker terms with NFTs as prizes? Yeah, quite likely. Community building is good. Entry fee for community involvement, maybe not so good. Well, think about it. It costs money to give away $500,000 over the course of the next year. Am I saying too much here? If I want to give away $500,000 to my fans, I hate to break it to you, I can't just pull it out of my pocket and give you $500,000. It's expensive. And in order to... Look, I don't want to give away bad prizes. Simple as that. I'm not going to give away bad prizes. If you look at a lot of NFT projects, they give away t-shirts and hats. We're not giving away t-shirts and hats. We're going to ideally win a poker tournament and give away $5,000 or $10,000 to people. And not just one person, 50 people. We're going to be giving away sweet art. Maybe some physical stuff. Maybe some, poker home games. Anyway, if you like me and you like my work, you may like it. It's not for everyone. And you got to realize, it's important to realize that everything is not for everyone. And that's okay. PokerCoaching.com is not for everyone. My YouTube channel is not for everyone. And that's okay. That is okay. Let's get back to these Matt Affleck hands. Check it out, deckofdegeneracy.com. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. is posting abroad so expensive? It depends on where you are, but it's also a bit of a pain because you have to fill out customs forms. And if we're sending out 3,000 of these decks of cards, it's expensive. And it takes a lot of time.
All right, in this hand, it's going to fold to the button. The button's going to raise it up here to 800. We're in the big blind with 7-5 of spades. Should we fold, call, or raise to 2,800?
Call, obviously.
Clear call here in the big blind. If we were like 60 big blinds, 70 big blinds, I would consider 3-betting this hand a decent amount of the time. But at 30 big blinds, we want to be blocker heavy. I would 3-bet a hand like King 5 offsuit, King 6 offsuit, Ace 3 offsuit.
Let's see. Let's see what GTO recommends. 30 big blinds deep. Big blind versus raise from button. What should you be bluffing with? As you see, Matt Affleck nails it. Queen 5, Queen 4, King 3, Jack 5, etc. 7-5 suited and every other suited hand. Very, very clear call. Notice a few of these random hands bluffing it all in. Why are we not giving away all 54 cards with the NFT? I had you at Deck of Degeneracy. Good. If you're like me, you love some gamble. How am I going to draw a random card out of a deck if everybody has all the cards? Now, you could, of course, buy a bunch of NFTs and have a whole deck. But, I want to give away 50 of something. Imagine I want to give away 50 of something. How could I do that easily? Well, I can't say if you have the whole deck, it doesn't do any good. But if I say if you have the 9 of hearts, we can do it, right? I presume most people are not going to have all 54 cards. Maybe they do, though. Maybe there's some JL super fans out there who just collect the whole thing.
Not a hand like this. I think this hand doesn't play well at a shallow SPR, so we just want a flat call here. Jack 5-4, we check, and we face a 700 chip bet. Should we fold, call, raise to 2,100, or raise to 3,000?
Almost the 8 of hearts again. Yeah. It's a lot of 8s in this deck. This deck is actually all 8s. Actually, it's not. I'm kidding. What happens to unsold NFTs and will it benefit the members? The nice thing about this project is that I'm going to play my tournaments regardless. So if we sell 20% of them, instead of there being 50 cards, there's 10 of each card, give or take. Fine, right? It's a very interesting scenario because a lot of projects, they kind of like have to sell out, otherwise they're a big failure. We don't have to sell out. I just want a way to get back to fans. I think this is a call. You may want to raise like some of your worst pairs here, like a 4. But I don't think you need to raise this one. That said, like if there ever is a spot to raise middle pairs when the middle pair is really low. So yeah, came in 6th place in a large pool tournament yesterday. Good job, T-Dubs.
Folding's out of the question here with a pair. Calling seems like the best option. You could raise here for some protection. I ran a sim here, and this hand check raises like 20% of the time, but
that is important to note. If this was like Jack 10-4, you would basically never raise if you had a 10. But on Jack 5-4 or Jack 3-2, etc., you want to at least consider raising the middle and bottom pairs. But if the middle pair is much higher, you basically never raise middle pair. Bottom pair, though, especially with an overcard or maybe like backdoor straight draw, those will consider raising sometimes as a bluff/protection bet.
This is a flop the imposition player should check back a decent amount. So I reran the sim and forced the button to range bet 100%. And this hand's still just check called mostly. We want to have a jack here to check raise. Our hand's just not strong enough to check raise for value. Even though it needs some protection, we're just going to check call here most of the time. If you want to make a small check raise every once in a while, it's not going to be a big mistake at all. Deuce of clubs on the turn. We check. And we face a 2/3 pot bet.
Some people say, why not lead this turn? We could have a flush. We could bluff this one. But I don't think you want to lead this turn much at all. When the turn brings a 3 flush, you don't have a ton of flush draws in your range because you'd often check raise them on the flop or consider check raising some of them on the flop. And your opponent would bet all of them on the flop or a lot of them on the flop. So you don't want to lead when the turn's a 3 flush all that often at all. If it was a blank 2, though, we could at least consider it. The problem, though, is if it's a blank 2, the opponent's got a lot of like random ace high that can easily call. If there's something like a 6, though, we maybe consider it. Anyway, this is a spot where we're not going to be leading ever. So we check, opponent bets. Ugh, this is a bad spot. This is a bad spot. This is one of these scenarios where I think we're supposed to fold. This is an annoying spot. Annoying spot for sure. The problem is the guy may easily just be barreling with like random king high, you know? We have a question. Do I know anything about real-time assistance going on in poker? I would tell you to not worry about it in the smaller, medium stakes games whatsoever. In the high stakes games, you should definitely consider it. Check out the live streams with Draft Danger. He often discusses it on poker coaching. I think this is just a fold. Whenever the guy bets big. If he bets smaller, I think we can consider sticking around, but against a bigger bet, I would find a nitty fold. Definitely an annoying spot, though.
On the turn here, this hand I think is just a fold. When I ran this in the solver, this hand calls like 30% of the time and folds 70%, which means it's indifferent. But most people just don't find the proper barrels here as a bluff. They end up being too value heavy with their bluffing range here, and even against their bluffs, we're not doing too hot here. So I think folding is just the best play. We have like king 5 with the king of clubs. We have 7-5 with the 7 of clubs. We have plenty of 5x here with a club. We have 5-3, 4-3, 4. I'd rather call here with 9-4 with the 9 of clubs, or any hand with the 4 of clubs.
You want a club. You really want a club.
Are all going to slot in before this hand. So we just have plenty of hands that can actually improve on the river that we'd rather call with here. I make a mistake here, I think, and call. River's the queen of diamonds. We check. And our opponent puts this all in. Should we call or fold?
For pot, are we good? 33%? This is where it depends on what the opponent's going to do with ace-x on the turn. Are they going to bet turn with ace-x and then blast river with all of it? If they're going to do that, I actually think calling is very reasonable. Like really, really, really reasonable. I'll be saying easy fold. I don't think so. Give the guy king 10, king 9, king 8 with a club. You think he's not going to jam the river here? Seems like an easy jam to me. Hit that like button. Well, yeah. Kevin, look, I agree that everybody should click the like button, but I know some people, they don't want to give back. If you don't want to give back, it's okay. You don't have to click it. But presumably you're here 48 minutes into the show. You probably like the show, okay? Click the like button. Click the subscribe button. That lets YouTube know that people like this. If the turn was a fold, then surely the river's a fold. That's definitely not true. That is definitely not true. Because you got to ask, if we're calling the turn, it almost presumes the opponent is over-bluffing. Okay? If we call the turn, making the presumption the opponent's over-bluffing, and then they bet on a river, which is not necessarily a stone blank, but is, not the worst, then I don't hate finding a call. And, the queen's not great because, like, king, queen, queen 9, queen 10, all these hands will consider betting the turn with the club. But I think it's reasonable. Rob the Blind with a Twitch Prime sub. Thank you. By the way, if you all watch this on Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, you can give away a subscription every month to someone. You have to go back and do it every single month. But that gives the content creator a little bit of money. Don't necessarily give it to me. Give it to somebody else. Give it to whoever you want. But if you're an Amazon Prime member, as I know a lot of you are, then it's free to give back to content creators. So might as well do that. What do we do here? If you think the guy's insane, I would just call every time. There's a lot of busted draws. Louis Philippe goes through this logic, which I think is good sometimes, but not good always. Louis Philippe's logic here is that we have a whole lot of better hands to call, which is definitely true. Do club blockers even matter, though? Because, like right here, I don't really want to block the busted flush draws, right? So yeah, we block flushes, but we also, if we have like the king of clubs, we block one of the obvious bluff hands with like king of clubs blank, right? So I don't really want the king of clubs, I don't think. So anyway, it's probably just a fold. But that said, if you're playing like live poker and you get the vibe this guy's nuts, then I don't mind calling.
Given that I should have folded the turn, this is a no-brainer. Easy fold. Calling gets a score of 0 here. Folding, score 10. Don't call here. You need to have a club in your hand. You need to have something blocking their value hands. So easy
I'm not
fold.
so sure about this one. This goes back to the idea of, is the opponent over bluffing? Are they over bluffing? Period. If that's the case, then I really, really, really don't want to block the bluffs, and the bluffs are obviously busted flush draws, right? So we know they have the value. We don't care about the value. I care, do they have a whole lot more bluffs than they should? And if they have a whole lot more bluffs than they should, then we should be calling, right? That said, against a normal person, obviously it's a fold. But if we call the turn, it's kind of presuming they're over bluffing. That's like the logic I'll often see. Whenever I'm playing and I'm reviewing hands from like 3 months ago, for example, I'll see myself make a loose call on the turn. And if I do make that loose call on the turn, then I know I'm making the presumption this guy's over bluffing because I'm not making a loose call randomly, right? So if I'm making a loose call, it kind of presumes they're over bluffing. If they're over bluffing, I should be way more inclined to call on the river. All right, let's go through one more hand. I think we have time for one more. If you all enjoy the show, by the way, click the like and subscribe button. Will we call if the river paired? I don't know. Probably, but who knows?
All right, in this hand we have ace queen offsuit. We are in the cutoff. The low jack is going to raise to 2.2 big blinds. It's on us. Should we fold, call, raise to 20,000, or go all in?
I guess call.
I think both options of call or raising to 20,000 are both fine. Calling, our hand plays well. We're in position. Raising to 20,000 is good because we shut out the button, we shut out the big blind, and we get to play a heads-up pot. If the player moves all in, we'll have to release our hand, which sucks. But there's a lot of benefits of 3-betting here as well. Both options are perfectly fine. If you look at a solver, this is going to mix. In 3-bet, 30-40% of the time, it's going to call a lot as well.
Let's take a look. Cutoff versus raise from low jack seat. As we see, mostly call, right?
Well, I do call this time. Fall comes jack.
I'm sorry, versus low jack seat? Yeah, cutoff versus low jack, mostly call.
Jack 9 deuce rainbow. And our opponent checks. Should we check, bet 6,000, bet 12,000, or bet 18,000?
How good is the opponent? You don't really want to get check raised here because when you get check raised, it's going to be against like random gut shots and stuff and backdoor flush draws that you don't really want to bet and fold against. If they're checking, looking to check fold a lot, then obviously just bet and win the pot every time. You say 40 big blinds. Are we actually 30 big blinds? Are we 30? Did I read it wrong? Maybe I read it wrong. Still though, mostly call, but mix. I would probably just check this back. Ooh.
The best play here, I think, after looking it up in the solver, and I remember in game as well thinking it was pretty close, and the solver kind of answered the question for me. Betting is the best option here. We just want to bet small, bet 6,000, and it's kind of an all-purpose bet here.
When opponent checks out of position, I'm not gonna say it like super caps their range, but to some extent it does. Louis Philippe says here, though, we by betting we don't get any hands better than ours to fold, and by checking it back we can cool our hand like king-queen if a queen comes, or ace-10 if an ace comes, right? Something you will see, though, something you will see if you look at the solver, is that very often when the opponent checks out of position, you should just bet small a lot. Now, I would have presumed this is one to check back. I gotta presume some like 9s are checking back a lot. Maybe like weaker jacks are like Jack 10 probably checks back a lot. Probably like 8s checks back a lot, right? Anyway, I think I'd probably just check it here. But let's see, let's listen. Matt does the work. Like I said, he's studying all day, every day.
We are bluffing, but we can also get called by a hand like ace-10 suited. We can start putting pressure on like pocket 3s and pocket 4s, and we're kind of just setting up to bluff multiple streets on certain runouts. And yeah, a lot of people think this is a marginal made hand. We have showdown, but it's really going to be hard for us to show down this hand because if opponent has a hand worse than ace queen, they're going to bluff a lot, and our
Again, not sure that statement is necessarily true. I've seen plenty of people just have like king queen and check it down, or ace seven suited and check it down. A lot of people are so something worth noting here is that if we do bet the flop and get called, we're not necessarily doubling and tripling the turn and river in the spot. That said, there are plenty of hands in our range that do want to double and triple. So you'll find that there are some hands that want to bet one time and then just check it down, and this probably starts to fall in that category. Also, a lot of people saying like king, queen will call. Like I said, if the opponent's good, they're going to definitely mix in check raises here. And some of the gut shots, maybe not king, queen, that might be too good, but like king 10 probably looks to check raise. Ace 10 of clubs, I'm not sure that's going to check call. That may put in the check raise. And that's what you really don't want to happen. So as you're going to get check raised more often, you should be way more inclined to check back in my mind. As you're just going to get calls or folds, you should be way more inclined to bet. And I do think most people don't check raise often enough, which makes bet small reasonable. One thing you will find is that bet small, when check to, is often reasonable on the flop.
Our hand doesn't really work well as a bluff catcher because we don't block a lot here. Yeah, we do block like ace jack and queen jack. Another reason I like betting here is this player is supposed to check a lot and not supposed to see bet here too much versus our tight flatting range. And if they're betting too many value hands, they're just going to have a weaker checking range, and we can start to attack that here, I think, with bets. So I think betting 6,000 in general, taking the aggressive action here is going to be good.
Let's take a look at our flatting range. Matt said our flatting range is strong. 30 big blinds deep or 40 big blinds deep, something like this. And it actually is pretty good on this board. We have pairs, we have all the big cards, and a lot of these big cards connect very, very well with this Jack 9X board, which is why we get to bet so frequently, because we're in pretty good shape here.
Checking is fine, but I think betting small is going to be a better option here. I did check. Turn is the 5 of spades. Our opponent bets 14,000. Should we fold, call, raise to 35,000, or go all in?
What do you think? You'd rather bluff ace 10 than ace queen? The nice thing about ace queen is it has two overcards. If you look at solver again, very often it will bet with just like random ace king here instead of stuff like ace 10, because if you bet ace king and get called, you have the 3 out or 6 outs, right? Whereas ace 10 doesn't have quite as many. I would fold.
So this is a spot where I think it's really cool to study with solvers. I think a lot of people are going to say we should call here.
Fold.
We check back the flop. We have our best ace high we can have. We have the ace of spades blocker. We should just call here. This hand is almost a pure fold in the solver, and I was really surprised because I'll let you know here I called. I called here thinking and I didn't really think folding was ever an option here. I did think raising was a reasonable option here with the ace of spades. If you look at the solver here, we fold 80% of the time, and the other 20% of the time, we actually raise to 35,000. And it uses...
Let's pause right there. I would literally never raise the ace queen here. So I would have gotten the fold right here against the big bet, but I definitely would not have put in a raise here ever with any ace queen. So that's something else a lot of people do wrong, is they just don't raise off. I just announced that. People don't check raise often enough. People don't raise often enough, especially in position. Like I know I don't raise often enough in position because it's hard to find these random bluffs. Against a small turn bet, I think folding is fine. Against big turn bets, I think folding is fine. Why not raise? Because your opponent's betting big, and when they bet big, they're going to be pretty polarized. And when they're pretty polarized, you don't really want to do a whole lot of raising.
This hand is a bluff. We have 2 overcards. We have the ace of spades. And yeah, this is a hand that just folds on the turn a lot. Actually, almost pure. And against most opponents here, I think folding should be your best option. I think calling is pretty bad here. And yeah, mistake here. I'm learning every day as well. The river, our opponent bets 27,000 here on the 3 of spades. Should we fold, call, or go all in?
This is it. This is the all in. Is this the all in if we find ourselves here? What do you all think? I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, you give me the ace of spades here. I mean, what else are we going to do, right? Isn't it funny how you can go from just like fold to now all in with nothing? This is a spot where a lot of people literally never shove, but I think this is definitely a reasonable spot for it. The problem we have, the big problem we have, is that, yeah, we block flushes, but at the same time, but very much at the same time. The opponent's gone polarized bet on the turn, polarized bet on the river. I'm all in.
So again, I think folding is the best option.
Come on.
But
come
if you look
on.
at the solver, the sliver of the time we do call here, and we get here and we have the ace of spades, the solver likes to go all in. And the main reason being is that there's no other way for us to bluff here with the ace of spades. We can have every single ace x of spades combo potentially we could play this way. And so now the solver actually likes to bluff all in. And the worst option is calling.
Yeah, don't do that.
And unfortunately, that's the option I took.
No.
I think this is a fold almost always. If your opponent is just capable of making strong folds, this makes for a pretty good spot to shove all in here and represent the flush here. It's pretty hard for us to have a lot of bluffs here, and this is going to be one of our prime candidates if we do. I call, which is the worst option, I think, here of
Thought
the
he was
three.
bluffing.
I think shoving would be better and folding would be better. And this is a perfect example of a hand that, is making a thin value bet, and there's a very good chance we could get a fold here if we shoved all in. So, yeah, pretty butchered hand by me, and just showing kind of that always be reviewing your hands. There's always mistakes that are being made. And, yeah, I made a couple of big mistakes here that cost me a lot of chips.
Someone mentioned earlier, and I like it as well, that Matt goes through his errors. I make a point to go through my errors as well. And this is definitely a spot where, I mean, I get the idea of calling if you think the guy's over bluffing and you block the logical value bets. So is our hand good enough to call? I mean, the answer is probably just no, because they could be value betting with stuff like ace jack, king jack, etc. Note though, the opponent did check the king jack on the flop. A lot of people thought that was impossible. They thought, oh, I mean, we should, they thought they could never have the king jack. So anyway, let's go through one more hand. I like going through Matt Affleck's hands. Believe it or not, I made pokercoaching.com for me. I know all of you get to enjoy it as well, but I hired the coaches I want to learn from and the players who I want to work with. So I learn and have a good time here as well.
All right, in this hand we have ace-10 offsuit in the big blind. Under the gun's going to raise. Big blind, or the button's going to call, and it's on us in the big blind. Should we fold, call, or raise to 14,000?
I would call here, but I have good data that says you can consider 3-betting with stuff like queen jack offsuit here, and it makes more money than calling exploitatively. So I would call, but I think 3-betting as a bluff in the spot actually is quite reasonable.
I think our hand is just too weak to squeeze here. If I had a hand like ace-jack suited or ace-queen offsuit, I would consider re-raising here, but our hand's much too weak. It's also too strong to fold, so leaves us with one option, which is call.
Tigger says, it's helpful to know that pros make errors. You beat yourself up when you do it, and it's very demoralizing. You're going to make errors inevitably, but at the same time, you have to ask, why did I make this error? And I bet in that spot, Matt just thought the guy had too many bluffs in his range for some reason. He probably had heads-up display, and in that spot, saw the guy was overly loose and aggressive and decided, all right, I'm calling, right? Which I think is fine. I do that all the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad/wrong, right? However, with his exact hand, I think he probably should have jammed. But it's a scenario where you have to ask, why did I do what I did? And is that logic reasonable? Like that 7-5 hand from earlier, I don't mind calling the river purposely. Like, I know it's not the GTO call, but I think it could be very fine if the opponent is over bluffing. 3-betting against an early position player seems sketchy. You need to have some 3-bets in your range. Let's look at a heads up scenario. We are playing, how deep are we playing? About 40 big blinds deep. Under the gun, big blind versus raise from under the gun. You will see that you are 3-betting some as a bluff. And take a look at the ones that are chosen from a GTO point of view. What are our bluffs? King, queen, king, jack, and ace-10. King 9 suited, jack 9 suited, 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited, plus a few random ace-x blockers. So if you're not 3-betting these, you're probably leaving some money on the table. Okay? And I especially like 3-betting queen, jack, king, 10, ace-10, queen 10, jack 10, some portion of the time. And exploitatively, again, I'm telling all of you, these are probably going to make more money 3-betting than squeezing, 3-bet squeezing in a lot of these spots. Because the caller's range is often going to contain a lot of hands that dominate us, but if we 3-bet, we get them to fold out some of those.
Flop comes ace-8-3 rainbow. We're going to check it. Player's going to bet 3,200. The button calls. Should we fold, call, raise to 10,000, or raise to 15,000?
What do you all think here? This was fun and entertaining, says Van Peebles. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. It's not quite over yet. If you enjoyed this, check out pokercoaching.com. We have a lot more quizzes there, about 1,500 of them. Mario says, guys, we all lose. Well, people who type that in the chat box probably do all lose, that's for sure. All right. I would call, but I think folding's actually kind of reasonable. Do we ever raise? The question is, do we ever raise? If we raise, can we get better hands to fold? Obviously not. Can we get worse hands to call? Probably not. Not so many of them. That said, we are getting really good odds. So I think I would call. It's probably going to go check, check, check on the turn, and then check, check, bet on the river, and we will call, or check, bet river. This guy will call and we'll fold, or check, check, bet, we'll call, right? Check, bet, fold, we'll call river. So I would call, but proceed cautiously.
I think calling is going to be the best option here. I think our hand is a little bit too weak to squeeze. If it's close though, if I had ace jack, I'd really make it 10,000 here a lot. I think making it 10,000 here isn't really that big of a mistake at all. I think it's actually very reasonable. But I think calling's going to be the best option.
I'm drinking my brain fuel, 1 second. Worth noting, when you go to 10,000 here, it's actually not that big of a raise, right? And you're going to find that a lot of people do just naturally overfold in this spot. The problem, though, is that the board's not draw heavy at all. So whatever they fold is probably drawing to like 2 outs, right? So if they're drawing to 2 outs or 3 outs, then let them draw, right?
Option. I think folding is still out of the question at this point in the hand. Our hand is just too strong.
Halloween Bandit says, whoa, that's a wild river decision tree. If you're not, I mean, I'm always thinking ahead like that whenever I'm playing. Like when I call this flop, I pretty much already know what I'm going to do on most runouts. On the turn, if I check and the initial raiser bets, again, I'm going to fold. If I check, turn, this guy checks, this guy bets, I'm going to call. And if it checks 2 on the turn, on the river, I know I'm going to check. Maybe bet small, depending on how it runs out. If this guy bets, this guy calls, I'll fold. If this guy checks, this guy bets, I will call, right? And you should always be thinking ahead like this. This is like playing chess 3 moves ahead. It's not that hard, but you should definitely get in the habit of doing that in all scenarios. I know some players think, all right, I'm going to figure out what I do once I see what my opponent does. But especially if you play in tournaments where you have a shot clock, you sure better be thinking ahead while it's your opponent's turn so you don't run out of time, so you know what you're going to do very quickly. And whenever I'm playing online, I'm playing 20 tables at a time. I'm making decisions very quickly, right? So how are you making these decisions quickly? You click the button, and then it's your opponent's turn. And while they're taking all their time, you think about what you're going to do if they make their plays.
It doesn't need much protection. So I think I like the call here. Should do call. King of diamonds, we're going to check it to the raiser, who bets 14,000. And it's back to us. Should we fold, call, raise to 35,000, or go all in?
Oh, this is a bad spot because the guy could easily be bluffing. You may say, would he really bluff into 2 people? I mean, I don't know, probably not. The nice thing is they did go kind of big into this guy who has 50K, which would put him in a really bad spot if he gets jammed on. If he's bluffing, right? So I think it's a fold. I think it's a pretty clear fold. It sucks, though. This is another spot where if the guy went small, you can certainly consider calling. But as they go bigger and bigger and bigger, you need to start finding folds. The tough thing about this is that the King of Diamonds brings some of the obvious bluffs in that can continue bluffing now. Like diamonds, right? Queen, Jack, Queen, 10, etc. If this was heads up, I'd obviously not fold. But when it's 3 ways, I think folding's fine.
I think folding here is the best option. It's getting pretty hard here for the under the gun player to find bluffs. You know, all their ace x hands are a pair, all their king x hands are a pair. They could be bluffing with like a queen jack or a jack 10. So having ace 10 isn't that great because we block some of the bluffs. I think a lot of bluffs from under the gun have to come from like 8-7 suited, 9-8 suited, pocket 4s, pocket 5s. Most people don't find those bluffs.
It's an important point. The opponents will find the logical bluffs, but very often they will not find the pocket 4s bluffs, right? Or if they have the 9-8 suited, they're not going to bluff it. So And for the most part, people under bluff. And the reason is because they do not find the obvious bluffs. Something Justin says here, which is definitely incorrect, that a lot of people think, and I used to think all the time, is that if he bets the turn big, he's definitely going to bet the river big. That's not true, though. It's not true. People do not bet the turn every single time. Should he bet queens with a queen of diamonds? Probably not. I gotta presume those should be checking, but hey, maybe they should. I don't know. Three-way simulations are weird, and most people, myself included, have not looked at a ton of three-way GTO simulations. He could also have a set. Well, of course he could have all the good hands. He should probably value bet something like ace, queen, and better. His betting range should be quite tight and strong for this size, and his draws are going to be premium draws and then also some sporadic nonsense. And most people miss the sporadic nonsense, which makes their range really good hands that I lose to and good draws that have good equity. And against that range, we should definitely fold. But if he is going to include all the sporadic nonsense, then I think calling becomes fine.
We're bluff catching here, and we're bluff catching without a way to improve. And we're going to have every ace x of diamonds here. We will have I'd rather call here with 8-7 of diamonds than ace 10 offsuit, I think, because we actually have a way to improve with that hand. So I think folding here is the best option. Calling is reasonable, but I think it's really thin, and especially against most people, they're just not finding enough bluffs here to induce us to call with this hand. I did call, and I don't really like it.
Matt does not play like his quiz. Matt knows what he should do, but he apparently punts off. All right, I understand now.
That much. I think folding is the best option here. 6 of hearts on the turn. We check. And our opponent shoves all in for 76,000. Should we fold or call?
I kind of like calling now. All the draws bricked on the river. We block ace king. We block aces. He may not shove ace queen. Yeah, we're going to lose to the kings if he has it, or the eights. Wow, is this a call now? So here, you really don't want to block the bluffs. That's all that really matters. Do I block the bluffs? I think we really, really, really don't want to have a queen, jack, or 10 of diamonds. We probably don't really want to have a queen, jack, or 10. The question is, though, do people ever bluff this spot for overbet on the river? Again, it depends on how good they are. If we're playing a high-stakes tournament, I probably pay. Something else a lot of people say that is incorrect. You called the turn, therefore you cannot fold the river on that card. And I completely disagree. The idea that I'm going to call the turn and then always call the river on all safe rivers is not good. You should always have hands in your range that you're going to call turn and then fold on the river, just because that's good GTO poker. You should be folding a large chunk of our range here. I don't know what the actual number is, but it's probably 50%, 45%, something like that. We should be folding a lot. Matt's going to say to fold the river, but then calls anyway. Yeah. The problem here is we're against under the gun, right? Well, actually, I say that's a problem, but it's not really a problem because under the gun's not going to have a whole lot of like ace 6 and ace 8 and ace 3, right? I mean, I got to imagine this is a fold, but I don't hate call. I'm going to call. But I think it's...
Yeah, kind of a no-brainer here. If I were to fold the turn, this is a no-brainer on the river. We're going to have ace 6 of diamonds. We can have 8-6 of diamonds. We can have ace 8 still, potentially an ace 3, ace 6. So lots of...
He's doing the Louis Philippe logic, which I don't hate. But that is what you want to do against good players. But the question is what are we doing here? Do we have better hands to call with? And the answer is obviously yes. But... the other way to look at this is, do I block the bluffs? And is the opponent going to be bluffing adequately? Like Matt said, though, people don't bluff the turn adequately. Therefore, they're going to have fewer bluffs getting to the river. And people often don't bluff the river adequately.
Ways we can have better hands to call with. I don't think there's any reason for us to call with this hand.
For value and profit. That's it for today. This was fun. I enjoy going through these. If you enjoyed going through these, click the like and subscribe button. As you see on Poker Coaching, we have loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of quizzes. 1,500 of them or so. Check it out at pokercoaching.com. Seems like you all enjoyed this. At a lower buy-in tournament, they don't bluff in that spot. Yeah, I agree, 1,000,000%. In a small buy-in game, when people overbet, period, you should fold a lot. Higher stakes games against world-class players, they're going to show you that Jack 10 of diamonds almost every time. Even though that might not even necessarily be an ideal bluff hand, they're going to go for it. So yeah, that's that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you. If you want to find out more about Deck of Degeneracy, my new passion project, check out deckofdegeneracy.com. Get in the Discord. We do giveaways. We're having a giveaway right now for a free mint. Check it out and enjoy yourselves. Life Shuquatic says, don't quit doing these shows. Don't worry, I'm probably not. I enjoy them. Are you making any more TikTok shorts? Probably not. We were putting them out on YouTube, but they were not very popular. Therefore, it may be done. I actually recorded about 300 videos, 300 1-minute long videos in a day. And we're not going to use them. Such is the life of a content creator, I suppose. Hope you have a great day. Hope you make the most of it. Make sure you get in the poker coaching study sessions. I believe that's going to start as soon as we're done here. You can get in the poker coaching Discord on pokercoaching.com. You just go right here to the community tab. It'll take you right to the Discord, and you can be in. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Make the most of your week. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.